Ooh, ooh, big fish shit. Y'all know what it is. We got a big fish talk. I just watched the Tyre Nichols, well, part of the funeral. I watched the eulogy by Al Sharpton, and then I watched Kamala's remarks. We're going to start off with the Reverend Al. It, so this is going to go a few different places. Like I had problems with a lot that I saw happening at that funeral. And some of you might say, who am I to have a problem? If the family wanted to, conduct their funeral in that way, then that's on them. I'm not saying at all that I have an issue with the family in particular. I understand how these powerful people can influence a family that they need to use their son's funeral to become something bigger, to impact the world, to make sure that this situation never happens again. I understand that they can do all that. And to me, it's all manipulation. So I'm not blaming the family. I understand that people grieve different ways, people mourn for losses in different ways. However, this was disgusting in my opinion. It's disgusting to use the funeral of Tyre for your own political gain. You can say it's about the George Floyd Act. Reverend Al, he's announcing all these people there, George Floyd's family. I don't understand why they're there. I guess it's to push this legislation with this act, this George Floyd Act. And if you're not familiar with the George Floyd Act, you can look it up. We'll get into it a little bit. But he's announcing who's there, announcing Keisha Lance. He announced a bunch of people, announcing Kamala's there. This is not a pep rally. The only person who needed to get acknowledged was Tyre Nichols and other members of his family. But you're acknowledging all of these political leaders, and it just came across like a Democrat pep rally. It was a political pep rally to push agendas. And this has been, the Democrats been doing this for a long time. They've been using and playing on our emotions. They take these situations that are extremely emotional to us and they use it to control us, to either rock us to sleep or to rock us in a direction that is beneficial for them. In the disguise, they disguise it as something that's beneficial for the black community. This is beneficial for you. The Democrats, we talk about it all the time. Yeah, y'all make promises all the time about what y'all gonna do for black people. Biden came out and said exactly how he feels when he mentioned to Charlemagne that you're not black if you don't vote for me. Like we owe them something. Like we're bugging if we consider voting for anybody else. That is how they think about us and how simple they think that we are when it comes to them gaining our support. Biden will hop out the window as he did and say, oh, the LGBTQ is my number one agenda. How? You're responsible for the crime bill in a lot of ways. You contributed to that, locking up people. Why aren't the people that have been supporting your party blindly for a lot longer than the LGBTQ community? Why aren't we your number one priority? For issues that have been extending a lot longer than anybody else's issues. Now, I'm asking why, but it's really rhetorical. They don't do anything for us because they don't feel that they need to do anything for us. Excuse me. It's that simple. All they do is use us. Reverend Al Sharpton, in my opinion, I would just say that you should be disgusted in yourself and disappointed in yourself in how you allowed either you did it yourself or you allowed the Democrats that you report to, work for, whatever, to push you to do something like this. And I'll venture out he probably volunteered for this. Like, he's so used to doing this, and we're so used to accepting stuff like this. Why would we allow a funeral to turn into a pep rally for the Democrats? And that actually leads to an overall question that I've always had with funerals. Ask people that are close to me. What I don't understand is why when somebody dies in your close family, that we have people come and lead the services of your transition from this life to whatever, comes after. People that don't even know the person that passed away. Like, why isn't there a certain level of pride and ownership that we take in making sure that we're speaking, the people that are actually close to the individual? And I understand that it may be, like I said, everybody deals with death differently, but damn, like, when I go, do not have anybody involved in my going away, transition party, funeral, whatever you want to call it. Do not let anybody who does not know me close, well, have any type of involvement. Any type of involvement. Do not ever let somebody come in. I don't care how I go. Do not let my funeral be used like a pawn to push an overall agenda, especially if that overall agenda has proven time after time to not benefit us, my village, my community. That's just something that I have a serious issue with, and I've had it for a while. I can't stand going to funerals where a funeral, it sounds like the Sunday sermon. Or talk about the person, talk about the individual. And if you don't know the individual well enough to talk about them, then have somebody up there who can. These pastors, they get up there and there's always an ulterior motive. It's always like, oh, well, I know how pastors look at it because I do business development. I'm in sales. I understand how it works, marketing, all of it. When you get a new group, a new audience of potential customers, AKA potential members of your church, when they're not already members, your number one job is to recruit them to belong to your church. And that's how pastors treat it. I remember I've walked out of funerals just because I was so disgusted in how they were being conducted, where I'm looking like, yo, is this like what? They're bringing up people on stage to save? They're bringing, like, what is going on? And it's always, that's my issue. One of my many issues with the black church. It's always that rah emotional energy that never turns into any action. It's like the player before the game that's always talking and hyped up. Bro, sit down, bro. Save that energy for the game. Those be the ones that go out there, get smashed the whole game. Conserve your energy. Be smart. Move with practical steps, logical steps. All we ever do is get high. Literally, go back, go listen. If you didn't see, even if you already watched Al Sharpton speak, go listen it again after we have this conversation. It felt like a pep rally. People cheering for stuff. Oh, well, we done did all that other goofy pastor stuff. No, bro, save that. Do that at your crib. It is corny, it's disingenuous, and it's manipulation to the furthest and highest degree. But for whatever reason, we don't see it as such. And why is it manipulation? Because it's not addressing the actual issues. You're talking about a whole bunch of other stuff. And that's why the actual issue, you know what the actual issue is in this case? Whether those cops had on uniforms or not, we understand how the policing works. We understand the culture of policing. We understand that. But you know what this situation was? This was black men attacking black men because we've allowed our standard as far as how we see each other to reach such an incredible low point that it's so easy for us to harm each other. It's so easy for us to kill each other. Literally, it could be somebody that you grew up on the next block with. How could you develop that? How could you develop that much hate with somebody that comes from the same place as you? How could you ever develop that much hate to try to kill somebody? Over what? And that is exactly what we saw in that video. Our standard when it comes to how we see ourselves, because we can't control institutions as much as the Democrats try to make us seem like we can. It's a lot harder to do that than to control how we see each other. That's what this is a bigger problem. And when I see these, and it's funny, Al Sharpton's talking about, yeah, we not somebody, he was referring to somebody saying how some pastors or some people just try to jump up when the cameras are there. Bro, that's you, Unc. That's you. I don't see you in Chicago every day. I don't see you in Baltimore. I don't see you in these inner cities across the country that are run by your fellow Democrats. When all these black kids are being killed, black kids, the youth. Where are y'all jumping around screaming for a change then? No. Y'all just want to attach yourselves to stuff that can serve, that you can ride their wave into pushing your agenda with your people, your team, the Democrats. That's not the black community. I don't care what Joe Biden says. Democrats don't represent the black community. And y'all are going to start seeing that in these upcoming elections. I would have thought that y'all already saw it. There's a reason why people support Trump, black people, why we're drawn to Trump and his transparency. There's a reason why we're starting to open our eyes and say like, maybe we should consider not just blindly voting with the Democrats. And, you know, let's see if we can make a deal with the Republicans. Ice Cube. There's going to be a lot. Y'all keep playing around and taking us for a fool and trying to finesse us, manipulate us, all these different things that y'all do. And you'll see how your support dwindles. This was the perfect time and opportunity for Al Sharpton or anybody else, if you're going to go up there. Like I said, why is Al Sharpton even there? But if he's there, this was the perfect opportunity for you to call upon black people to fix our own problems, to call out how we don't value each other. Yes, we can talk about the root of the problem. We already addressed this in the last video. If the root of all our problems, let's just say, I know what y'all are thinking. The root of all our problems are white supremacy. Cool. So how do we fix it? We go and ask the white supremacy. So the people that you think are so evil and are the root of our problems, white supremacy, we're supposed to go to them and ask them to fix it? Or wait, hold on. Oh, only the Republicans are the white supremacists, not the Democrats. Not the people that signed in the crime bill. Not only the It doesn't make any sense. We have to start taking control of how we see each other, how we respect each other, the regards in which we hold each other in. And then everything else will follow suit. We have no foundation. We fight and beg others to treat us a certain type of way, but then we treat each other worse. And our so-called leaders, these political puppets, these are the people that are not using their platform in an effective way to bring about any change in our lives, but we continue to blindly support them. Why? Because they know exactly what to do to get to our emotions. And when somebody can get to your emotions, they can control you. They remove all logic. This is what? Pastor 101? Black Church 101? White Supremacy 101? Maybe you want to say, whatever y'all want to say. If you can control a people's emotions, you can control their whatever decision. You can lead them any way that you want. You can steer them. You control them. Once you got their emotions. And that's what happens. And I want to talk about, it's funny, somebody commented on a post that I put up saying that, well, Tyre was screaming for his mother. A woman commented on it. Because I was saying that it's on black men to not only save black women from all of this manipulation, whether it's from the government and the Democrats, with being incentivized to not want to be in a marriage situation, to not need a man, or whether it's the LGBTQ community that aligns itself with the feminist movement that has taken advantage of black women, manipulated black women. These are not y'all fights. The same challenges that white women have, these white feminists, you guys have you guys have like opposite issues, but you're aligning yourself to push their agenda. It's backwards. You don't have the same issues. It's like somebody who has an issue, one person is too weak, the other person is too slow. Or it's kind of even worse than that. It's like one person being too strong, one person being too weak. I don't even, matter of fact, I don't even want to get into the analogies because then it's going to go a whole different place. It's just backwards. Why are we aligning ourselves, black women, with groups that are detrimental to the very things that we acknowledge that we need? Strong black male leadership. So I just wanted to just lock in on the point where Al Sharpton was highlighting that Tyre Nichols was calling for his mother. Tyre Nichols was in a fight for his life. He needed help fighting, but he was calling for his mother. He needed protection, but he was calling for his mother. This is embarrassing, black men. This is embarrassing. One thing that I will agree on, it is embarrassing. It's embarrassing for a man whose life to be in danger, who's literally fighting for his life to survive, and he's calling for his mother. That's supposed to be calling for your father. If I was fighting for my life, I'm not screaming for my mother. I'm screaming for my father. The man that I look to and have always looked to growing up to protect, to help me fight my battles. For a man like Tyre to be screaming out for his mother, it shows a lot about where our culture is. And once again, let me continuously say, as I always say, I put this on black men and the lack of strong black male leadership. Instead of us aligning ourselves with these agendas that fit outside of our community, when it comes to raising men, telling them, oh, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to cry. It's okay to go through this. It's okay to da-da-da. No, that's not what our community of black men need. We need to be strong. Why is it okay for our black women for us to celebrate their strength, but then we don't demand the same out of our young black men growing up? It is backwards. And that is why I always put it on. I can't stand weak black male leadership. It is cowardly. It is destructive. It is the worst thing. And it is exactly what has landed us in the situation that we're in now, where we are dying at a fast rate. And it's only getting faster. Things are getting worse. For a man to be dying and screaming for his mother, I think that needs to sit with us for a little bit, black men. Men provide protection. Men raise their kids to be fighters, to be warriors, not women. That's not no shade on black women, no shade on women in general, but that's not the role that is provided for in an ideal situation by a woman. It's provided by a man. We have to do better in these areas. We have to do better in these areas. And Al Sharpton should have called out exactly how I called it out. Call out the black men. Call out how we need to teach our young black men to be warriors. Intelligent warriors. But instead, he used it as an opportunity to appease black women, to celebrate black women's strength. All these different things. Black women, they're manipulating y'all. You all are, we know you're strong. We know you're courageous. We know that you try your best in a lot of situations to hold down the family. It just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work. We've seen the stats. It doesn't work. It's not the ideal situation to raise our kids in. We've gone over the numbers. A man is needed in the household to raise children. And we're going to touch on that a little bit later. But why did Al Sharpton decide that he was going to just celebrate the fact that this man, or draw some correlation between Tyre and screaming for his mother? He used it as a way to celebrate black women and make that connection. Maybe I'm reaching, maybe I'm not. But the fact that he needs black women to support him. He needs to win black women over. So he remains on the surface and just celebrates black women rather than doing what I'm saying that he should do, which is put in the work and hold black men accountable to providing what black women really need. But see, if that's provided, let's look at the Democrats. The best way to get assistance from somebody or get support from somebody is to make them need something from you. Black women have needed the government because we haven't shown up. Black men, right? I said I always put it on black men. So Al Sharpton and who he works for, the Democrats, they'd rather black women need them than for black women to get exactly what black women need, which is a black male leadership, strong, intelligent. The Democrats need black women to only rely on them rather than relying on a black man in their family that can lead their village, lead their community. It's just, come on now. If you're not aware of how the government incentivizes black mothers and black women in general to not need a black man, we got to look this type of stuff up. Excuse me. I got the sniffles. Al Sharpton also said something that stuck out to me that I have to address. He said something about be careful who jumps in your movement. And I think he was referencing something that he learned with MLK, or I'm not sure what stories he was trying to connect at the time, but he did say, be careful who jumps in your movement. Is he talking about himself? Is he talking about the Democrats? Is he talking about Black Lives Matter? Is he talking about the LGBTQ community? Is he talking about the feminist movement? Because as soon as George Floyd died, who jumped out there? All these groups that I just named. It wasn't enough to just say Black Lives Matter. Now black women lives matter, black trans lives matter. We started to see all these different things. Bro, George Floyd was not killed because he was trans or in the LGBTQ community. He was not killed because he was a woman. And when I say he was not killed, a lot of you and a lot of us should go watch the Candace Owens documentary on the George Floyd situation. To not throw off everything that I say moving forward as far as how y'all perceive it, I'm just going to leave it that way. George Floyd's situation, because I'll be totally honest, after watching that documentary, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. George Floyd was not put in a position where he was because he was a woman or because he was in the LGBTQ community. So why do they feel the need to attach themselves to our struggle when they do absolutely nothing to actually help our cause? They just used it, just like the Democrats. Patrice Cullors, all these people, the BLM movement. Come on, bro. Here you have, I just talked about a man that was in a situation fighting for his life, but he was screaming for his mother. And we identify all the time the issue in the black community when it comes to what not having a father in the household really means. And when you look back at the Black Lives Matter mission statement, look at their initial statement before they took it down. I believe either the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, did an article on it where they showed, because Black Lives Matter took their mission statement down. I don't even think at the time when I was looking at it, they didn't put another one up. But their initial mission statement, I'm just going to sum it up. This is not word for word, but this is what they were saying. That their goal was to break down the patriarchal structure, the traditional patriarchal structure, to dismantle that. That was their goal. Black Lives Matter's mission was to dismantle the patriarchal structure of family, the traditional family structure of having a father lead the household. Think about that. Without a father in the household, kids are more likely to go to jail, to get in trouble, to not be as successful, look at what happens, and this is for boys and girls. The daughters, they're going to deal with a whole lot of issues. Daughters more likely to get pregnant early, to suffer from sexual traumas without that man in the household. But this is what their goal was. And this is why it goes back to Al Sharpton saying, be careful who jumps in your movement. Be careful of Al Sharpton. I appreciate you, Uncle Al. Be careful of Uncle Al's jumping in your movement. Be careful of BLM, which disguised themselves as an organization fighting for the lives of black people. But in reality, it was a feminist slash, or maybe I should have said LGBTQ slash feminist movement. Just look at the organizations in which they contribute millions of dollars to. That's on record. So as I said before, this was the perfect opportunity that Al Sharpton missed. The perfect opportunity to light a fire in us, to force us and demand us that we change the way that we view each other. But instead, it turned into the regular Al Sharpton civil rights struggle and a bunch of other issues without directly addressing how we can actually solve the problem. And it just shows such a lack of care, empathy, because where are these people when countless young men and black boys are dying in the inner cities that are ran by Democrats? These young daughters that are suffering, that are being brainwashed and manipulated and taken advantage of in these cities. Where is the effort and energy to addressing those? Because as much as we may think that a police officer, they're just out here killing, like the main reason why black men die in America is because of police officers, that's not the case. Police need to be addressed. However, we need to address ourselves, because if we don't address ourselves and hold ourselves to a higher standard and unite on this higher standard, then nobody outside of us will ever respect anything that we're saying, anything that we're doing, any deals that we come to the table with, nothing. I don't want to hear about Jim Crow and slavery or stuff that happened years ago and blaming. No, I understand that all that happened. I understand it. What's the solution right now? That stuff only serves as a motivator or something to get us inspired if we actually have a plan of action that we need to be motivated to follow through. There's no plan of action. Oh, get them riled up with all the rah-rah stuff, tap into their emotions, so that way we could just put all our trust in the Democrats. They'll solve it. Don't worry, BLM, Black Lives Matter, they'll solve it. The feminists, they'll solve it. LGBTQ, they'll solve it. It's an embarrassing place where we are, and it's because of our lack of leadership. We have no leaders. Ooh, my stomach. We have no leaders. We have no leaders. You just heard my stomach growling. Just the way my stomach is, my body's, it's time to eat. I haven't had anything to eat today yet. The same way my body's hungry for food, we need to be hungry for real leadership. It's embarrassing. Al Sharpton is not our leader. Barack Obama is not our leader. LeBron James is not our leader. Jay-Z is not our leader. These mega church pastors are not our leaders. And the people in our community that are actually putting it out there, standing on morals, principles, values, integrity, and addressing the stuff that we need. Maybe not the stuff that we feel that we want, but the stuff that we need. In most cases, those are the ones that we're arguing with the most. Why? Because we're embracing the worst parts of our culture. We embrace our worst. We embrace the worst things and the worst people in our culture. And we allow that to raise our kids. We allow that to raise our adults. It's a shame. It's a shame. So I'm going to wrap it up with Al. When it comes to that, do better. Do better. It's time for us to start supporting the people, the younger leaders, like the ones that I just was referring, standing on principle. Let's support them. You may not agree with everything that they're saying, but let's also understand that we are all indoctrinated. We are all brainwashed to a certain extent. So therefore, even if something doesn't sit right with us right then and there, extend that individual that you know actually cares about your community and your village. Extend them some grace. Really understand why they're doing it, what they're doing, what they're saying, and how that's going to impact everything overall, without just personalizing it and taking offense, getting triggered, and hearing what we want to hear. We all learn differently, right? Well, unfortunately, one person cannot adjust their delivery style to make it as effective as possible for everybody. So we got to do a better job of understanding who's in our circle, who's for us, because when it comes to these goofy leaders and with the Democrats and all these other groups that I just mentioned, we extend the grace to them. I don't even think most people black people agree with most of the stuff that they do, but we just allow them to keep doing it. We just rock with them. So extend that same level of grace and more, and let it turn into support with the people that are actually the people who actually have the best interest of our community at heart. Al Sharpton, this won't it. This won't it. But it is what you've always done and what we've allowed. But we got to do better. And we got some young brothers and older brothers that are willing to do better. Let's pass some of that spotlight to them. Now I'm going to get into Kamala. Kamala is like, I don't even know what to think about her. Honestly, most of the time I don't think about her. She's so irrelevant to this country. She's so irrelevant to anything that really matters. I understand she's a figurehead when it comes to seeing a black woman or whatever she is. I don't even know if she identifies as being black. I know she did when it came to elections, because that's what they do, right? Be who you are. Be who I need to be in order to win over whoever I need to win over. Come on, Kamala. So I understand what it can mean, for young black girls, black women across the board. It was the same thing with Barack. I always say that I can't stand Barack. To me, he's the epitome of a weak black man that has allowed our people to suffer and to keep moving in the direction that we're moving in, which is backwards and is completely detrimental to our community and our culture. But He made us be able to believe that we can hold the quote unquote highest office in the land. I have to give credit for that, I guess. But when it comes to Kamala, the same level of, I don't even know if it's the same level of, I keep going back to this disgust word. It's just, it is disgust. It's disappointment. The same way I feel about Barack. I'm not going to say it's the same with Kamala, but it's somewhere over there. Kamala is not for us. She's never been for us. If we looked up her record of hiding evidence that could have freed young black men and young black women, if that evidence was allowed to be presented, she is the opposite of what she portrays herself to be. Kamala doesn't like black people. Be clear. She doesn't. We all know that. The Democrats don't like black people. And I don't even care. Because I don't really care. I don't operate off of like. I'm more mad at us for constantly supporting people just because they act like they like us, rather than looking at it from a logical standpoint. But I want to touch on what Kamala started off her very brief speech or remarks as she acknowledged, I'm going to be brief. Yes, because we know you don't have anything to say. We know that. But she was talking about how when a mother first holds their child, that the number one thing that they pray for is the safety of that child. Y'all see where I'm going with this? If the number one thing that is important to a mother is the safety of that child, and this goes back to what I said before. I'm not even sure. I actually said it in an Instagram message, but I'm not sure if I even said it on this episode or episode before. But that when a woman has a child, and even going back to the post that I put up, when I said that men need to save women and our families, when a woman has a child, just the same way when a man has a child. But we were talking about just the mother, as Kamala said. If the number one priority, and if you're you, this goes back to when we say women say, oh, I can do this on my own. I don't need a man. Your I, when you have a child, is no longer just you or I. Your child is a part of that you or I. And you can't do it by yourself. The numbers show you cannot do it by yourself when it comes to your kids. So therefore, you cannot do it by yourself when it comes to you or I, because in that you or I are your kids. So as a woman, when you're holding your baby, I'm asking, if what Kamala says is true and the first thing that you pray for is the safety of that child, who provides safety? Who provides protection? Who are the warriors? Supposed to be a strong man, correct? So that would mean that women do need men. And even me saying that, it's like so simple. It's like, well, duh. But for whatever reason, when you have these conversations, it's as if there's some misunderstanding that black men are not needed to come save this particular situation that we're in. And what's also funny to me is that whenever I talk about this, because it's always like, well, men need women too. Yeah. I don't see a lot of men just running around saying, I'm independent. I don't need no woman. I don't need no. I definitely need a woman. I need a woman. I believe I'm speaking on behalf of men. Men totally understand and accept that there's certain things where a woman is needed for. Men are not trying to fulfill the roles and get Mother's Day cards as well when it's Mother's Day as a father. That's more of a woman thing that we see in the community. Why? It's not on the woman. It's not completely on the women. It's because that's what they celebrate. That's how they manipulate y'all. And it still comes back to us as the man because we've allowed it. But if I put all of the onus and responsibility on a man, why is it a problem when I say that a man needs to come in and save? Aren't you supposed to look at your father as a superhero? What do superheroes do? They save people that are not capable of saving themselves, right? Isn't that what a superhero does? So maybe it is because a lot of times black women haven't experienced that superhero father. Like I said, it comes back to us black men. But, no but. I just want to focus on the safety aspect that Kamala is talking about. If your number one thing that you're praying for is the safety of your child, what factors into safety? Provision. That child, making sure that you can provide for that child, can provide a safe nest for that child, can provide an environment conducive to that child growing up and being successful. Protection, that child can be protected. When we hear stay dangerous, that's what you have to be capable of in order to protect against danger. That's what a man provides. So if we can so clearly see that protection and provision is what a woman needs for her child, or what a woman's praying for her child, then I guess we can safely say and put an emphasis on how black men need to come to the rescue right now. We need to step up and become the strong, courageous leaders, smart, intelligent warriors that our women need and that our children need. It is completely on us. Now that comes in different forms. You don't just have a child and then worry about the protection and provision after you have the child. There has to be due diligence done on both sides. Fellas, you should not be laying up, having unprotected sex, letting off in women that you do not feel are that those women are a certain level of quality in which you would either want to raise a child with, or that if you ended up in that situation, that she would prevent you from raising your child. Why would you put yourself in that situation? That's the accountability that we have to take beforehand. Nobody's putting a gun to us and saying, have unprotected sex with that woman, ejaculate in that woman. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's putting a gun to our head. That's an option that we make, a choice that we make. It's all decisions. That's accountability that we have to take upon ourselves. So men complaining about, oh, my baby moms ain't this, ain't that. She won't. We have to do our due diligence beforehand. Women, ladies, you have to hold yourself accountable as well. So when you're holding your baby, as Kamala said, and just praying for the safety of that child, you can't do it on your own. So understanding that, we also have to take accountability in who you're laying up with and allowing to have unprotected sex with you. Because we've said it on plenty. I don't understand why it can be embraced in other areas. You know, we've said it on different business podcasts where we're talking about hiring, but we've also discussed it directly related to relationships. People are who they are from a young age. So if you meet somebody, I don't want to hear about how, oh, you know, I didn't realize that they weren't a good father. I didn't realize that they weren't a good mother. I didn't realize they weren't a good wife. I didn't realize they weren't a good. We understand this long before that. We may ignore it. We may ignore the logic because we embrace our emotions. Oh, I just love them so much. We can't do that because the people who suffer are our kids. So we have to take accountability in who we're laying down with. Now, I'm not talking about, of course, everybody's always going to personalize it and make it seem like, well, I have a friend that's married and then they ended up. Can we talk about the majority? Okay, you got married, cool, it didn't work out, y'all decided to leave. Can we talk about what's going to give us the best chance to have a two-parent household when raising our kids? Because why? Because stats have shown that that is the best environment for raising our children. It's all about our children, right? Once we have children, everything becomes about them, right? So if that's the case, black men, black women, we have to do better of holding each other accountable to not only rising to a higher standard, but to understanding exactly who it is that we're taking these chances every time we lay down with and have unprotected sex with, or sex in general with. We have to hold ourselves to a higher standard of who we are doing that with, because we're putting our children at risk. And when we put our children at risk, we're putting our overall village and society at risk. So that's really all I want to focus on when it comes to Kamala. Mrs. Irrelevant, just based on, and I say Mrs. Irrelevant because she's just not around. We don't see her. Now y'all gonna bash me for bashing her. I'll just leave it at that. But just wanted to touch on this. Of course, sending prayers, condolences to the family of Tyre. I really hope that things change within us based on your situation. I hope that it's just not another black man being killed, and we just, rally, protest, make some noise, then it dies down before we get started for the next one. So it's on us. We got to start internally first. And that means waging war against everything that is detrimental to our community, and embracing and promoting and encouraging everything that is positive for our community. So I'll let y'all go with that. I'll see y'all soon. Ooh.